What's up, guys? Doug Lane here, Fast Lane Car Care. Today we're gonna knock out this Honda Civic back window. This is an older car. What is it, like 2004 or something like that? If you guys have ever wondered what all this junk is up here, it's because we make t-shirts, air fresheners, all kinds of other stuff. Boom. Whew, okie dokie. Now. Now you see me on some of them, some cars I'll use the the excess on a like for the windshield strip or whatever. This car we're not gonna have enough to do that. Not really a big deal, you know, sometimes it happens. Not gonna have really enough scrap to do anything with. Which is what it is. Like, just cut some of this extra off, get it out of the way. And we're going to do the same thing to the top. This back window, I think, might be a little bit tricky for a new tinter just because the way the interior panels are. Man, this blade is not cutting worth nothing today. The interior panels are very close. It's pretty common on a lot of these Civic back windows, pretty much all the generations other than the brand new ones. Even the brand new ones aren't great. They're really tight, so you can't go leaving a bunch of room on the sides. A bunch of film on the side. You really gotta, you know, get it pretty close. Go ahead and snap a new segment because the blade's about junk. So now you see we got some really big fingers in here. What I want to do is I want to just kind of lift this up now that you know, I got some extra. Go something like this, and I'm basically just kind of stretching it out, not pulling super hard. I just want to get some of the extra slack out of this film. It's going to make it a lot easier to shrink. I don't really think this is going to be too difficult, but it's a good habit to get into because the less film you have to shrink, obviously, the easier it's going to be for you. Oh, I didn't post on Facebook or YouTube. I posted on Facebook. My poor light, man. Only a few months old, it started strobing on me, but luckily they have a 5-year warranty from Home Depot, so I was able to just get it switched out, and we're back in business. It was rough going a couple days without it, man, I'll tell you what. One technique I see a lot of people, okay, let me back up. One technique that would help a lot of the people that I see in the Facebook groups is right here. So a lot of people get messed up on these corners, and you know, having different trouble shrinking. You don't have to shrink evenly, and you also don't have to push as soon as you're done shrinking a section. I'm going to shrink this out. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So all I'm gonna do is just kind of hold my edge down here, trying to keep the film going where I want it to go. Look how I just used the heat and the airflow to split that finger down. Now we'll do the same thing with these fingers over here. All right, so now we got all this down here that we can just push out. And you can go further than that too. It's just kind of something you'll have to play with, gain some experience on. Certain cars are gonna be able to do, you know, you'll be able to go farther than others. See how this is wanting to go this way? We don't want that to happen. We want to keep our film going straight. You can blow a little underneath there like that. Now see how it made this kind of like, I don't know what you want to call that, but it's not good. So if I were just to run over this with the hard card side of this, we'd crease it, pinch it, whatever you want to call it. Blow a little air down in there. Shrink it up some more. And then you can push it out. All right, so now we're up past our border, but we still have a couple little fingers. What you can do is kind of lift this up and then shrink this section again. I really like to do that trick on the bottom a lot of times, because if you get a finger up here, you can use a heat gun and push it back out. You do kind of run the risk of it sucking contamination in from the headliner or whatever. But down here it can be really dangerous because you can't oftentimes get a heat gun down in this corner. So you got to heat it from the outside and hope it sticks. To where if you just use that little trick, just peel it up a little bit, shrink it again, it's going to put more tension down here on the bottom or the top, whichever, and you're going to have less likely for fingers to pop up. But we can do the same technique. You can see I'm shrinking right here. I like to just kind of do circles. It don't really matter, whatever works for you. The trick for me is not to overheat the film. Don't try to go from here to here all the way down like this. It just generally doesn't work very well for me. Might work for you, but I like to just kind of go slow, shrink it little by little. I mean, you can see we got some pretty decent sized fingers on this window, and we're able to really just cut them down, and we're not even pushing anything. We could use the same technique, blow a little air under it, let it kind of reset. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. I got a little air pocket or whatever. That's part of using the sway blade. Sometimes that happens. All I'm gonna do is just lift that up a little bit. Shrink it again right there. Just to prove a point, we just shrunk all that. We hardly did any pushing with the hard card. Now I'm just gonna do the same thing I did on the other one. On the top, I'm just gonna go ahead and lift that edge back up. Now I'm gonna shrink it again. Just the bottom, I don't know, what would you say, 4 inches? Something like that. Another thing to consider is here's our border right here. Here's the edge of our film. We got about an inch gap, something like that. When you cut this out, sometimes your edges will have a little finger popped up just because this film out here is not locking it down anymore. It doesn't hurt to go ahead and pop that edge up a little bit and shrink it again just to touch it up, polish it off. It can save you from having fingers when you go, after you install. And that's really the big thing, man. I want to do anything that I can on the outside of the glass to prevent having to use heat on the inside or having it suck contamination in on the inside, which could result in a redo. It's a lot easier to mess with stuff out here than it is on the interior. So to me, it's worth the extra 10, 15 seconds, 30 seconds to go ahead and just push a little more, just shrink it a little bit more. I hope you guys can see this. See how this little finger, how this whole thing is just going down? Alright, so let's say right here, like we got our film trying to peel up. It's trying to lift off the glass. Show you something real quick. You can do, it's called a, basically most people call it a wet check. Some people will tape this down, masking tape it or whatever. And sometimes it's going to do that regardless, simply because of the curve of the glass. But we can do a wet check. So you could do two things. One, you could just push this out and see if it sticks. I'm going to go ahead and shrink it just a little bit more. Now your film is going to shrink a lot slower because you've got cold water underneath there. So it's going to take longer for it to heat up. But basically your water is creating space so that your film can shrink. See, so now our edge is laid down real nice. If you put too much tension in it, like if I were to keep lifting this and shrinking it, lifting it, shrinking it, this would just want to peel up off the glass because there's too much tension. The film's trying to pull in like that. You don't want that. You want to find a fine balance between shrink enough and not over shrink. So same deal with the top, man. Look at this. We can kind of split this up into little pieces, but see how it creates this finger right here? So we're going to just kind of, this is why I like to run my heat up here, and I like to use this card to keep the edge of the film from getting hot so it doesn't try to shrink this way. I want to control my heat and keep the heat away from the edge while also pushing this way so the film keeps the finger going vertical rather than trying to go horizontal. you guys can see, there's like a little pinch or something right there. I just put some air underneath it, pushed it out. Probably wouldn't have showed up once I pulled the release liner off and installed it, but again, better be safe than sorry. See that? We got this little corner right here. It's kind of wanting to do its own little thing. So, not that it really matters because it's off to the side, but you can use the same techniques I already showed you on the rest of the glass. See if we can throw that in there without it catching on fire. All right, about time to throw some lights in here and get it cut. So the good news is, right, it's got light interior, so it shouldn't be too difficult. But here's what I'm gonna show you. I don't know if you guys can see these defroster tabs soldered on. They aren't but maybe a 1/16 away, maybe even less than that in some spots. And if we get our tint on that little solder tab, it's not gonna stick. So it doesn't matter how much we sit there and push it and squeegee it and all that stuff. And then also we've got this, it's not even really dot matrix. It's, I mean, it's like a web, I don't know what you call it, but we'll see if we can't prep this up kind of nice, make it look halfway decent. This is an older car, so hate to say it, but I'm not gonna go super crazy trying to get it to be absolutely immaculate. Some people are going to hate to hear it, but I mean, here's the deal. This is just a work car for them. I mean, this has got a big dent, scratched up. I mean, it's super clean as far as rust and all that stuff goes, but she's not going to win any car shows. So we want to be very, very precise with our cut on the sides. We can go a little bit generous on the bottom because of the way the deck lid's shaped, but we really need to be pretty precise on the sides. That's something you should do on every car, is kind of take a look before you get started. Look at the inside, see what challenges there might be. You know, are you gonna have trim panels that are in the way? You know, things like that. Are you gonna have sticker residue from 30-day license plate tags? You know, whatever. I know a lot of dealerships like tape them in there, and then some of them use like this double-sided, just nasty goo that's an absolute pain to remove. So you want to be sure of that. Holy smokes. Well, it was just a spam call, so back to it. Let's take a little look in here. Oh, that's nice. See what kind of gap we have at the top. Not a huge gap. So, and also pay attention. See how the headliner's like coming undone? We definitely don't want to oversaturate that, or we're going to make it worse. Suppose while I'm in here though, I can just go ahead and flip these bad boys like so. And get a little light across that top edge just to be safe. And I'm probably going a little bit more generous than I need to, but that's because I know whatever I have extra up here I can tuck in the bottom as long as I make my corners wide enough. If you cut your corner too close and then you slide this down, then your corner is going to have a light gap, if that makes sense. So that's what you don't want to do. See, I'm gonna get rid of this. So what I want to do is I'm gonna put my finger right here. I'm gonna pull away from my workspace. If you just try to rip up on that, it could go, and that's not cool, right? Because you just ruined all the work you just did. And then, you know, you can cut left-handed, right-handed, whatever you feel comfortable with. This is what you have to figure out on your own. Do you want to, you know, do one of these? Go this way. You want to start in the middle and work back out. We did a crappy job connecting the dots there, but it'll work. Now we got a little side finger right there. Okay, it's laid down. I just want to check, make sure we don't have anything coming across the top or the bottom that we need to polish out real quick. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, so. Just go ahead and just give it a little mist. Normally I don't do this until I'm ready to install, but I'm going to do it twice on this one just to see if it makes any difference on the contamination. I'm always experimenting, guys. Always. Always, always. Excuse me. Always trying to figure out better ways, faster ways. I don't know if you can tell this, but you can see these windows have a hydrophobic coating on them. So we might actually have to do this twice. I'm going to try just to hit it with the steel wool scrubby. This also, I noticed that this window is pretty dirty. So it could also be just from like smoking or vaping. It doesn't really smell like smoke. So I'm kind of figuring it's probably either vape residue or just at some point somebody used a really nice window cleaner on it. But for those of you that don't know, hydrophobic coatings will make your film want to tack up like instantly. So you definitely don't want to fight with those. Now on your little side windows where you're going to put them pretty much right into place, not have to worry about sliding them around or anything, it's not as big of a deal. But they can certainly make your life difficult. We're just using a steel wool scrub pad from like the dishes section. And that does two things. One, it provides some abrasive characteristics so we can kind of sand down these defrosters and dot matrix and stuff. But it also has soap built in, so we can kill two birds with one stone. We're cleaning the window, we're scrubbing it. That speaker grate is gonna shred my hand, so that's exciting. Alright, so now for the hard to reach spots, we're gonna take the bulldozer. I'm gonna try this out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I'm gonna pinch it about halfway or so. Just kind of get down in there as best as you can. Back here behind the third brake light. Just try really hard not to lose your scrub pad behind the third brake light. It's kind of a pain to get back out. Just, you know, just speaking from a friend's experience. Not that I would ever have done that. Never in my life. Good thing is, it's a Honda. Look at that. Look at all that junk. All that dirt, dust, oxidized defroster bits. Look at that. Part of it is the soap. Like you're gonna see some blueness, but a lot of that is black, just straight black. Like I said, that's dirt. That's junk off the defrosters, where the defrosters are old and corroded because, you know, it gets hot, cold, condensation forms and all that, and they start to rust. Especially here in Ohio. It's kind of like, you know, everything rusts. We'll just go ahead and keep ourselves from having to deal with some drips. Now, this did have a sticker here, a sticker on the driver's door, sticker on the passenger door, so we'll need to, before we get too carried away, go ahead and take those out and get that residue off. So, same kind of deal. To get the edge, I like to just wrap my towel in a bulldozer. Wrap my bulldozer in a towel, perhaps. Might work a little better. You can hear it squeaking. It's a pretty good indication that it is clean. Now, the bad thing about microfibers is they always tend to leave behind some lint. So, that's kind of the enemy when it comes to window tint. Go ahead, we got a little bit of moisture right there. So now what we're gonna do, see how that moisture's not beating up like anywhere near as bad? That's what we want. And so now what we're gonna do, take our orange crush, this is for those remotely curious, this is an 8-inch flat glass orange crush on a Fusion 8-inch handle. This is designed, like I just said, for flat glass, but works really nice on back windows and full windshields. So I use it as such. Now, one thing that I've picked up over the years, it's a mistake that I made literally for years, and it's not, if you do it this way, it's not that it's necessarily going to be the wrong way, but what I would do is I would go ahead and pre-soak my window. I'd spray it down, then I'd get out, reverse roll my window, come back in. You know, a lot of the moisture has ran down through here because of this thing called gravity. And what I realized was I always had some contamination, and it was always to varying degrees, you know. Usually the older the car, the worse it was. But what I figured out is when you do that, you're giving, especially up here at the top by the headliner, the water's running down there and pulling dirt and junk with it. And it may not be a lot, you know, a couple specks here or there. But what I found is if I just leave it dry, bro, if it's another spam call, we're just gonna have to deal with it. Oh, might be a legit call, so that'd be cool. But at this point, we're kind of committed to what we're doing, so we'll have to hope they leave a voicemail and or call back later. We'll call them back. Well, not you, me. But anyway, what I've found is if I just leave that dry on the inside, do this right here, get rid of any dirt, dust that might be up on top of the glass that could roll in while I'm wetting it down. And I'll give her a pretty good hosing. I'm not afraid to use some water while it's out here. Make sure this is just as flat and as even as it can be. Now we're just gonna reverse roll it. Now this is probably the only part that I need help with. My reverse roll always gets a big, like the release liner tries to come off, and tries to go away. It's not the end of the world, but it is kind of annoying. Just gonna leave that here for right now, and then we're just gonna kind of roll this up. Tighter is better to a degree, but if you get it super tight, that can cause you problems too. So now what we can do, we've got this protected. Still, try not to get too crazy with it. I like to flush a little water out the bottom, kind of work my way to it, up to the top. Now, this is kind of the tricky part, and it's just gonna depend on the individual vehicle. Like some cars this will work really well, some cars it's pretty easy, some cars it's not. But we're gonna kind of try to get this part on the glass close to where it needs to be. The third brake light being there is going to make it really difficult. So get over the third brake light. That way we can kind of slide this down. Now just try super hard not to let it touch anything. Don't let it touch your face, your GoPro, the headliner, none of that. And this is why I go pretty heavy on the water on the outside, so my glue's nice and wet. And this is called a reverse roll or a Cali roll. In my opinion, it does not matter what you call it, but well, I guess it's gonna be one of those days. All right, so we got that pretty much where we want it. Come right here, come across. Now, my experience, you don't want to put any pressure on these here, because if you do, the film just wants to instantly lock. So now we're gonna come over here, get rid of that. If we need to, give it a little mist. Gonna kind of do the same deal. Try to get that in there. Pull this kind of up so you can slide that film in behind the panel, which is the most complicated part on this car, getting it behind these pillars. And make sure you can get it up in there without touching the headliner. Kind of do something like that. See, we got a gap here. Obviously, we need to come this way a little bit. Just kind of get rid of these big bubbles, big fingers. Hydrophobic coating kind of getting to me there, but make sure that's covered. Make sure we're covered here, there. Get rid of these big fingers. Make sure we're covered on the bottom. And because of how I cut this, obviously we're good on the top because we have no light gaps. We're a little bit generous. So we take a flashlight here. We can see our film just barely covers the edge, and that's exactly what I wanted, because that way we're not hitting those defroster tabs. And you know, let's see what we can do. So I like to just kind of go slow, start pushing it out the sides there, something like this. Just like I said, kind of go slow at first, because if you hit a dry spot, you're going to crease your film, and you're going to be in for a bad time. Especially since we know this had a hydrophobic coating on it, we want to be, you know, extra careful, I guess you could say, because it doesn't take a whole lot to have a dry spot. Looks like we're gonna have a little finger right there after all the hard work we did to make sure we didn't. Biggest thing is just don't crease it. If you crease it, you're gonna be starting over. Okay, so, you know, nothing crazy, right? Now we got everything kind of lined out where we want it. As far as the middle and the top, go ahead and I'm using about, I don't know, probably about 40% overlapping strokes and a lot of pressure. Okay, bulldozer time. I like to start dead center behind the deck lid. Now the one nice thing about the bulldozer is it's not a super stiff squeegee, so you know it's kind of forgiving. As long as your film's wet, your window's wet, you don't have to worry too much. All right, so we got two things to contend with. One, we got a finger down there in the bottom, which is pretty frustrating, but we also have a finger trying to come in right here on the side. And then obviously we've got these ones right here. It's probably from where we did not have enough room to really prep past that dot matrix, because these interior panels, not the end of the world. We can do a couple things. Looks like we got some moisture up here to contend with, but what we're gonna do, go ahead and get our old friend the heat gun and a towel. Might as well grab two. You can see we got a spot right here too. So a couple things you could do. You could turn on the defroster, let it warm up the window. You could use a torch. A bunch of different ways to deal with this. Hard card, wrap it in a towel. I'm gonna start up here at the top. Also, be careful with this. You can see the headliner's starting to come undone in a couple, well, pretty much all of it. Be careful you don't melt anything. You can burn the headliner pretty easy. Okay, you can see we extracted quite a bit of moisture there. I like to do the entire matrix here. If it's dot matrix or if it's this grid, doesn't really matter. I like to use the whole thing. Try to push as much moisture out as I can. All right, notice we did not melt anything. We didn't burn anything. Now we're gonna take this and just, you know, push pretty hard. Some people prep this with sandpaper. I don't really like risking scratching the glass, especially on something that's, you know, this old. Set that in a place where it's not gonna melt anything. We could use our dry shop towel. We could use, you know, whatever we want here. But all we're gonna do is push that out the side. Kind of hold it for a second. What that's gonna do is absorb all the, you can see all the moisture. Really all it was is just trying to suck moisture back in. We'll go ahead and grab the dry shop towel and creatively push that out to the side. We may actually be touching one of the defroster tabs on this side, which is creating space and keeping that from doing its thing. This side looks good, so I'm gonna guess that's probably what it is. It's just due to the inconsistencies in the manufacturer. Oh, yep, that's 100%. You guys probably can't see it, but it's touching two defroster tabs. So we can sit here and fight it, or we can just so very carefully try to cut that. Now here's the beautiful thing about it, right? You're thinking, oh, but you didn't even pull that piece out. It doesn't matter. All we did was basically cut around that, gave it some space, and it should evacuate all this moisture. We should be able to just lay it right down. Another thing you can do, I'm kind of particular. See, it looks like we got a little spot right there. I really like to have a window pretty much 100% done before I move on. So just go ahead and try to get rid of everything that we can get rid of. That way, once it dries, as it dries, whatever, if something else pops up, then it's just gonna be a lot easier to address it. But get some of this moisture off of here. Okay, so that one spot's kind of being stubborn. Let's see, are we touching? I can't tell. Looks like we're good. I can't really tell. So what we're gonna do here, another little magic trick. So you can see right here, we got that little spot. We got rid of everything down here, perfect. We got one little spot right here. So what we're gonna do, go ahead and let's wipe this off real quick. We're just gonna get it hot. Not like super, super hot. You just want it to be pretty warm. You can see that the tint is reacting on the inside, so we'll go ahead and take our little foot just to get a little extra reach. Same deal, we're gonna wrap it for two reasons. One, so it doesn't scratch. And secondly, again, to absorb any moisture that might be left behind. And it's out. Come up here to this one. Same deal. Boom. it like way down in there. There we go. Perfect. All right, guys. That's how you do back window on these old Civics. You can use a lot of the tricks on other stuff. Pretty much any window. Get this cleaned up. Get the rest of the car done. Thanks, guys, for watching.